lot of people, especially in athletics, they don't need it. Mm-hmm. Will it give you an edge? Possibly. If you take it the wrong way, could it negatively impact you? Yes.
20,000 damn bitches on the island. 20,000 damn bitches going private. She make it clap. I got the strap. 21 gats. Feel like I'm savage. 21 bitches and none of them average.
Welcome, Foureigners podcast. You guys already know what it is.
Episode 2.
AKA Church of the People. AKA the house that I built. That Ali built. That we all built. Shout out Dani. Today we got my trainer, Dave Bartek, in the house. How you doing?
Doing great,
Doing
man.
good.
Thanks for having me.
I got you here as a trainer. Trainer, former accountant, that's right.
Former accountant.
Former ball player. Still ball player at heart.
Yep.
Well, how'd you get into that? Talk me through the whole journey from baseball player to accountant to trainer.
Man, where do I begin? I guess we have to begin at the beginning, right? We have to. No, I mean, obviously ball player growing up. So,
Where you from?
So I'm from Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach
Okay,
area.
the Dirty D.
Dirty D, man.
Dirty D.
Daytona Beach is not the same as it used to be.
Really?
I'm sure, you guys talked to Barron and Coach Vic and those guys, when Coach Vic spent time in Daytona when he was in the minor leagues, it was not the same place.
For real?
Totally different. And
Good.
Even now compared to when I was growing up, it's a different place.
Going up or down?
I don't want to say up or down, just it's not the place to be anymore.
Okay, I got you.
Spring break,
vacation
there,
place,
it was the spring break place, and now it's not.
Saturated or whatever?
The tourism is not there anymore. So
Gotcha.
now people go to Panama City, they go to Destin.
Yeah, PCB, Miami.
now
People
it's
trying to
just-
go to Miami a lot.
Yeah, South Florida's great. South and even Tampa, Tampa side. People go to Tampa. So now, man, it's just washed up, old,
Yeah.
Central
Retired,
Florida
yeah.
kind of. I don't want to say rednecks, but
I get what
just
you're saying, yeah.
country Florida
Yeah.
country boys. So it's just different. But yeah, man, I grew up playing ball there, so playing ball in the Central Florida area, and Central Florida has really good baseball. So
yeah, it do. I played summer ball there. You know that.
yeah, you spent time down there, and we've got other guys that train with me that are down there now, and there's just really good baseball from amateur baseball to college baseball to pro baseball. There's a lot of good baseball in Central Florida. And growing up, I always wanted to play baseball in college, and my college opportunity, as you know, everybody's college opportunities are different,
Yeah.
So, and they change. Mine was a Division III opportunity in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
So
Shout out Ohio.
yeah, man, shout out to Ohio. I took that and ran with it. Decided to transfer, ended up transferring to Piedmont College. And that's kind of where things took a different turn for me. When you talk about the training and the strength and conditioning, I really started taking, my body and just the fact that I was a smaller player, I needed extra.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to not train. I couldn't afford to not work out. I really started to take that piece seriously. So me and my brother really took the training part seriously. We started to kind of pull some other guys in with us and get them training too.
Do you think that at least from my experience, having played both up north and down south, do you think that's a big difference? Because I know up north, baseball isn't what it is down here. So it's kind of it kind of motivates you more in a way. It gives you more competition, just drives you to work harder in a way.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I think the baseball environment that you're brought up in matters to some degree, but I really think it's more like an intra-sport culture. I don't know if you guys played football or any other sports growing up, but the guys that played the more physical sports, basketball and football, I always noticed that they were so much more ahead of the game in terms of training because they were forced to train. Whether or not it was the right training for them or not, I don't know, but they were always working out. They were always in the weight room. They were always training. I even remember looking back to high school, we had a state championship weightlifting team that won 10 state championships over 12 years in weightlifting.
Yeah.
And all those kids also played football. They also did track and field. And those sports were superior because those kids were training, and they had good training. We had a state-of-the-art weight room. I mean, I remember seeing it, and I'm like, why why are baseball players not doing this too?
So you're a big advocate for dual sports. Well,
Dude, 100%. And I mean, I didn't play dual sports. You know, I was 5'7", 125 pounds in high school. Like I was tiny, so I didn't play football. I didn't play basketball. But from the training side of things, like there's definitely a benefit to getting in and playing multiple sports and training your body and learning new things, just being an athlete. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know,
a strength class in high school, like y'all had to take that.
So we had to, yeah. As a baseball player, we had to take. We called it 7th period baseball, but we'd either go to the weight room and train, or like 90% of the time we'd go out to the field and start practice early, and then everybody else who didn't have that class would come and start practice when they got out of school. So, you know, we basically had what was called a strength class in high school, but it wasn't. We didn't get any instruction. Like that was the biggest problem. There was no instruction. There was no, okay, here's the foundations. Here's what you need to learn. Here's how you need to do it. It was kind of just, all right, go work out. And you'd see the little guys like myself in the corner doing curls and forearms the whole time because that was the only thing we knew. Yeah. You see the big guys doing dumbbell bench and doing squats and doing deadlifts and doing stuff because that was what they were good at.
There's also like a factor where it's like, if you, at least for me in high school, I didn't start working out till college. So in high school, when we did have that weight room stuff, like one, it's like you said, lack of instruction. Two, it's like you see football dudes over here squatting like 405. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna mix myself in that, like,
right?
Because you know what I'm saying, like,
right. Well, and almost like I just remember from not so much in college, but in high school, man, it was kind of like a hierarchy of athlete. Like, if you couldn't bench 225 or squat 225, hey, you go over there, man. You don't belong over here.
Yeah.
Or, you know, hey, if you're too weak to pick up the 100-pound dumbbells, and hey, go over there. You know, you're not with the big guys.
It's different in college, I think. In
college, everybody's kind of included, and you kind of, you know, players and coaches start to recognize what players can do and what their ceilings are, and you know they're patted on the back for doing well. Whether they're benching 300 pounds or 200 pounds, whether they're squatting 400 pounds or 200, like it doesn't matter. You know, it's more, hey, we're gonna do what we need to do. We're gonna train our body properly, and we're gonna move on. So, yeah, man. I mean, I learned a lot going through those ranks, but then it was really like once I transferred colleges, that was when I really started to say, okay, man, this could actually be something going forward that I actually enjoy doing. Like, I'm always going to work out. And I remember being with guys and like, man, when I'm done playing, I'm never working out. Like, screw this. I'm not working out anymore. And I was like, I don't feel that way. Like, I started to enjoy it.
So you think like that transfer to that new school gave you like that passion?
I think so, man. I think it was a combination of that and then also like needing drive, like having something else to kind of push and say, okay, this is what I need to do to get better, not just show up and show my game. Like, I have to get better in another way. Physically, I have to get better.
Okay.
So that's really where the training thing took off completely, because the next semester after I got hired at Waffle House, my brother was graduating. So when he was done, he had decided he wanted to go into PT school. So he wanted to be a physical therapist. And it was going to take time as he was applying for him to get into school. So he knew he was probably going to have to take a semester off.
Yeah.
So he came to live with me. So when he came to live with me, like, we just started working out, training, and not even for baseball. Just, I mean, we were basically bodybuilding.
Yeah.
We were doing bodybuilding. And it was,
and like during this time, were you kind of like seeing like, okay, like making workout plans, doing everything on your own, kind of thinking like, everything. I could do this for everybody else.
Everything, man. So we were following basically a couple different bodybuilders programs.
Yeah.
We went through the whole programs. We did the diet, we did the nutrition, we did the training, and we didn't deviate one bit. Like,
so you dove in.
We did everything all the way. The only thing we didn't do that was on the bodybuilding side was take the drugs.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that a lot of people are probably afraid to talk about. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I've never done them.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a lot of people that have. So we didn't take any performance enhancing drugs at all. But
do you think it's like there's any safe way to take it? Do you think there's any circumstances where you should take it? Not should take it, but like where it's okay to take it? I mean, because I know that's huge in the bodybuilding community.
I don't want to necessarily say safe or not safe because that's kind of a subjective thing, but I will say that there are, if people are going to take them, there's very educated people that could give them the right guidance and get them the right medical guidance as they're doing it to do it the right way. Do I think it's the best thing for you? No, because in the end, it's still going to mess up it's not going to mess up, but it's going to mess with your hormones. Mm-hmm. It's going to change your testosterone probably forever in the way that you produce testosterone. And as you get older, you may suffer consequences. Some people don't, a lot of people do. So I say the safest way is to see how far you can get without it and see where that leads you. Because a lot of people, especially in athletics, they don't need it. Mm-hmm. Will it give you an edge? Possibly. If you take it the wrong way, could it negatively impact you? Yes.
So is there a higher likelihood that it could negatively impact you than it give you that slight edge because of the fact that there's not very many people telling you how to safely take this?
We'll put it this way. So both of you guys are pretty high-level baseball players, right? Mm. But as of now, neither of you is playing at a minor league or major league level, correct?
Yeah,
at the highest level you want to play. Neither of you is doing it.
Exactly.
And that's not a knock on your talent. You guys are talented baseball players. If you were to take any drugs, is there any guarantee that it would put you at the highest level? No. There's not. Does the chance go up slightly? Probably.
It's the whole Barry Bonds argument.
But I can tell you that the chance of you having medical changes to your body down the road is a much higher chance than the chance that you would end up getting to the highest level of baseball because of taking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the risk versus reward to me is not there. Some people, if there's any possible reward, they're going to take it. Right?
Yeah.
They're willing to risk whatever they have to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
And I can't fault people for that. But when it comes to the training side of things, I know that where I'm at now and my understanding of things is much better because I never took any drugs and I had to do everything natural and I had to struggle.
Yeah.
I've had to struggle to put on weight, struggle to get stronger, struggle to understand programming, struggle with injuries. Those are struggles that help you in the end, even though, you probably could have took a shortcut and got where you wanted to go, and you look great. But
because it's easy to see, it's easy, you know what I'm saying, you're a smaller guy, like you said, you've been like that since forever. It's easy to look at you and be like, I don't know if I want to train with him, and then you look at, who
right.
I'm talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Look at him, and then you're like a guy who does that, and you're like, don't worry about it. And then you're like some dude that we know.
We can name drop on this podcast.
I don't even know his name, to be honest.
No.
So let's say a user, and then you look at him and you're like, look, I want to train with him. He must know what he's doing to get there. And when in reality, I'm sure 10 times as much. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Or just anybody.
Smoke and mirrors, right?
Exactly.
There's always smoke and mirrors. It's like that in baseball too. You go to a showcase and pick out the guy that does the three best things on the field. He's not the best player there.
How many Instagram trainers are there out there that you just see and you're like, oh damn, I want to be like that. Let me go get their program. When in reality, it could be, like you said, something that has no packing to it. It's not something you need to be doing.
Right.
How oversaturated is that market, and how much misinformation is really out there?
It's more saturated now than it's ever been. And I say that because, this is kind of getting into, I was talking about my brother before. We started ATHLETEK Baseball as a platform basically to get baseball players better. It really didn't start purely as a training platform. It was mainly as a platform just to get baseball players better. And he has a physical therapy background, and I have a strength certification. And, with our backgrounds, we just wanted to get guys better, period. And now that there's so many people doing stuff online, it was kind of funny how the timing of the pandemic and people working from home and doing the virtual training thing, all came to a head. And now that you've got everybody doing stuff from home, it's anybody can go online and start a training program, quote unquote. And it's okay, here's another one. The barrier to entry is 0. But I still believe that the people at the top of the line, like the people doing the best job, they're going to come out on top because people are going to see results and people are going to trust what they're saying and they're going to stand the test of time. Like a lot of these people fizzle out after a year.
I mean, the problem is like people like nowadays want everything quick. They want to see results in 30 days. They want to see results in 2 weeks. They want to lose 15 pounds in a month. I'm like, bro, like you gotta. It's a process, like you said. Like it's something you gotta see over time. So how many people are actually gonna like stick with that and like?
Yeah.
Trust
No,
the program?
it's and this is where, you're getting into a whole different thing because you're starting to talk about programming and stuff. Programming matters.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother, he's a physical therapist and he does a lot of. He basically runs another company too. And it's purely training, and it's not simply athletes. It's all people, and he does a lot of performance therapy, where he's treating people for shoulder injuries, hip injuries, back injuries, etc.
And he works with some good like high end
Yeah,
clients.
for sure. And he works with some he works with some people that are just regular Joes too. And it's shocking to see how the people who are regular Joes and the people who are high level athletes need the same thing. A lot of the same thing. People struggle with the same movement patterns. People struggle with the same injuries. And a lot of it can be, it's funny because he's a physical therapist and he'll tell you this first. A lot of it can be fixed with corrective exercise. But corrective exercise is not just hammering away at whatever, squats, deadlifts. Like you have to be a little bit smarter about your approach and the segmenting of workouts and then the segmenting of an entire program, weeks or months or however long it's going to be. And that's where like your Instagram hotshot trainers and the people who are really doing a good job, whether it's remotely or in person, are going to shine because their programming and the methodologies and just how they bring everything together as an entire puzzle is a much more refined process, as opposed to just throwing a couple exercises on a sheet, 3 sets of 10, move on to the next one, and then 3 weeks later somebody comes and says, well, my shoulder hurts, my back hurts, I'm having some hip pain. And we get the aftermath of a lot of it because a lot of people will say, hey, we tried this shortcut to whatever, or we tried Johnny's 10 steps to getting shredded, whatever the program might be called.
Screw you, Johnny.
And right, damn you, Johnny. But
everybody's body's different, though. Also, not gonna have
exactly.
every
Just the way we were training, and I tell you, we were on this bodybuilding kick. We were a lot of high reps, a lot of huge amounts of volume. Mm-hmm. Man, it got us sore. It got us big. It got us strong quickly. But we probably should have took a smarter approach early on and been surrounded with some trainers who train people like athletes and more functional first before we started doing that.
So is it like a training like what would you call that, like a movement, like mobility and strength at the same time, or is it mobility first, then comes the strength? How would you like go about it?
And it's a trick question, because you take the 125 pound soaking wet sophomore in high school. That guy moves fine, but he's weaker than shit.
Yeah.
And then you take the 200 pound senior in high school who can bench 200 pounds, he can squat 300 pounds, and he can deadlift 400 pounds, and he runs a 6'9", 60 for you baseball players know what that means. That guy's strong, and he's fast, and he's explosive, but he can't move. He's going to get hurt soon. Like, it's coming soon. So that there's no right answer to that. Like, what do you do first? I always think that quality movement needs to be happening while you're getting stronger.
Okay.
So every program that we program somebody with, there's movement prep, there's movement finishers, and there's a lot of exercises in there that are movement based. When you're talking about getting stronger, man, like you don't have to program that many strength sets in your workout routines. You don't have to program the amounts of high volume for strength and power sets. Like the volume can be dialed back, and I think you probably know this after training with me for a while. We don't go. Now, I shouldn't say we don't go crazy. We do go crazy sometimes. And you were deadlifting 500 pounds a couple weeks ago, and we squat heavy, and we do heavy box squats.
500.
Yeah,
Say that again.
Well, it was $495, but
Same
you know,
thing,
we'll round up. We'll round up to 500.
Anyway.
So, but it's you just have to be smart about how you're doing it, and you need to understand what athletes' goals are. Mm-hmm. And I say athletes because when we were going through this trial and error, we were not athletes at the time. We weren't playing baseball anymore. But that was the thing that got us going. Like, it was the challenge and the push and the discipline that really like drove me to want to do this. And once I started having some of those niggles and pains and injuries, from the lack of movement and things like that, then I was like, oh, okay, I guess, I'm forced to kind of tune into some people that are a little bit smarter than me, tune into people that understand movement, understand, I hate even saying range of motion, but, there's just the ranges and movements that you can get in and out of with strength. That's what mobility is. Okay. And when I really started to dive into that and understand that more, that's when my programming started changing. So, and that was really about the same time. And when I say my program started changing, I mean for myself. And that was right about the same time that I started training athletes too. So it was kind of a perfect mix of like figuring it out for myself and then, putting it to the test on other people.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, man. I mean, it's going back to what I said, like there's things I look at that I was doing with people that I say, yeah, I wouldn't have done that if I could have done it before. But it's not so much like what would you change? It's more so like how do you learn if you don't screw up?
If you don't try. Yeah, of
like
course.
If you don't screw up, how are you going to learn what's right and what's not right?
Yeah.
I'd rather screw it up and learn it quickly so that I can move on from it than let it go for so long and then just be like, oh man, I've got 12 of my athletes that are hurt now and I got to take a look at what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And that's like, we always talk about how you're feeling, when you come in the gym, okay, my neck's a little sore, my back's a little sore today. And I got no problem tailoring programs and routines and workouts for guys on a daily, weekly, monthly program phase basis because sometimes that's what guys need.
Okay.
So
what would you say is like a healthy kind of split in terms of like days, your rest days and strength days? Like what would you say, like how many times a week should you be lifting, taking press days?
Would you say like what we're doing right now? It's pretty.
Yeah, I mean it really just depends. I mean it depends if you're an athlete or a non-athlete. It depends on if you're in season or off season. It depends on if you're just trying to maintain or you're trying to build. It depends on if you're faster and you're trying to get stronger or if you're stronger and you're trying to get quicker. I mean, all those things play into it. I'd say as a general basis, we'll take baseball players first. I think ball players need to work out at a minimum 2 times a week, at a maximum probably 5 times a week. And I'd say the 2 times a week would be an example of you're in mid-season form, you're playing a lot of games, you're hot and tired from practice, and you don't need to be training 5 times a week. I'd say in the off-season, in the wintertime, you need to be going 4 or 5 times a week. And it really just depends on a player's experience level and age and all that stuff. I mean, it all comes into play. If you're doing a 2-day split, to answer your question, I think that you're probably good doing an upper body or lower body day. I think you could also do it as a total body lifting day and then more of a dynamic day where you're doing your sprints and your med ball throws and all that kind of stuff. And then once you get to 3 days or more, then you can really get creative with how you split it up, and there's really no one way to do it. Like I've got my high school athletes on upper, lower, and then dynamic day, which is, we're pushing sleds, we're moving med balls, we're throwing things hard, we're sprinting. Like for you guys this past off season, most guys are on a max upper body, max lower body, and then a dynamic upper and a dynamic lower. Yeah. And that's a really good split for guys because really you're only training with high loads and very high intensities for 2 days. And the other days are very movement based. They're more friendly to the body in nature, but you're continuing to kind of hone in on those movement patterns and things that guys suffer with. a lot of the mobility we're talking about. These are things that we hit all 4 of those days.
Yeah.
And then how you structure those workouts are different. Some of those dynamic days might only be 45 minutes of training. Some of those max effort days might be an hour and 15, hour 20.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. There's no one way to do it, and if you're a non-athlete, there's even more ways to do it.
As far as there's something I wanted to touch back on, a little bit off topic, but before that, I wanted to ask a question for the people that are watching and they're like, I want to be a trainer. The people that actually want to do they want to try on air, they want to figure out how to become a trainer and take that next step, but they're kind of attached to their full-time job or whatever it is that's holding them back. You having experience like taking that leap where you're like, you know what, I'm going to quit my full-time job, which you said was providing you a stable income, made you feel secure and saying like, I'm going to pursue training. What would you say to those people?
I would say don't quit anything until you're sure you want to do it.
Yeah.
I think that you need to test the waters first. Even people who really enjoy training sometimes don't enjoy training other people. It's boring to them, or they just don't get the same life-riveting thrill out of it. For me, I almost enjoy training other people more than I enjoy training myself. So for me, it was a no-brainer. But even myself, I had to test the waters first. I had to train other people first to make sure, hey, is this what I want to do?
Yeah.
And it was. But I would tell that person, hey, start off training people. It can even be your friends or whatever first. Make sure it's something you want to do. If you have clients already that you're training, and hey, I like training this 4, 5, 6 set of people. Train some other people that are different from those people too, because when you start training athletes or anybody in general, it doesn't have to be athletes. You're gonna get all walks of life. You're gonna get different personalities. You're gonna get different skill levels. You're gonna get different experience levels. And if you're not comfortable molding to people, it's going to be a long road, because then every time so-and-so walks in, you're going to be like, oh, man, I hate training this guy or hate training this girl, man. She sucks. You don't want to have that. You don't ever want it to be like that. So, grass is kind of always greener for people. Like, they're always thinking, man, this job would be so much fun. It'd be awesome. But, everything's tough. Like, it's hard to keep up with a bunch of different clients all the time, and especially when they're all athletes, because they all have their own schedules, they all have their own agendas, they all have their own injuries and things that they're rehabbing. You need to make sure that before you jump ship and go do something different, that this is really what you love to do.
All right, the real question, the heavy hitter.
Oh boy.
Because we were talking about it earlier, and I don't want to interrupt, but I want to ask both of you, talking about going back to the good old roids conversation.
Oh boy, here we go.
How you feel? Barry Bonds, bro. Hall of Famer.
Barry Bonds, I think
Absolutely. In my opinion,
he's one of, if not the best hitter of all time.
That's pre-steroids too.
I'm not even going to say anything about drugs. He's one of, if not the best hitters of all time. So, and luckily, I got to watch him a lot growing up. I'm sure you guys probably saw him. Nah, probably not, right?
But not
Maybe
really.
towards
Not
the
like an
very end.
everyday type thing
Yeah.
that we see players now. We weren't fortunate enough.
He was unreal. Like, he did things that you're like, okay, that's like a video game.
Yeah.
Just
Bro got walked with bases loaded.
well, yeah. And just things like getting walked every at bat in a game until the 9th, and then he's down 0-2, and he fights off 12 pitches, and then he hits one in McCovey
A
Cove.
bomb. That's
Like, that type of stuff is literally video game.
Literally.
And it's just, it's a shame that towards the end of his career, the whole, steroid thing came out, because he's damn near a unanimous vote for the Hall of Fame, because he was that good and his numbers were that good. And
if you need strength training, you got injuries, you need any of that, you need anything. But if you're Ali, basically, that's your man right there, Dave Bartek. You want to plug? What's your ATHLETEK? Athletic?
Yeah,
Athletic?
yeah. On Instagram, ATHLETEK Baseball. Yeah. That's me and my brother. Yeah, on
Athletic
Instagram,
Baseball.
ATHLETEK Baseball. On Twitter, Athletic BP, I think it is.
That just clicked to my head just now.
Yeah, we're on Facebook through ATHLETEK Baseball. So yeah, check us out. See what we got going on. We're here in the Atlanta area. So for you guys in the Atlanta area that need training, throwing, shoulder issue, arm issues, we can set you up with Dale, get you guys some remote, basically consultations to figure out what's going on and put you on some programs. That's something that we've been doing a lot recently. So, we want to help as many guys as possible get better. And,
that's a goal.
Baseball is our passion. So luckily we're able to train people and do baseball at the same
That's
time.
the goal. That's the blessing. All that'll be in the description for this podcast.
So you get free training now, right?
Oh yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Come on, let's go.
You should come through though, for real. Come through and live.
Yeah, we'll get all you in
I'm
there.
leaving next Wednesday, so I mean.
That's all right, man.
We'll come through a
We're
couple
gonna train.
days.
Yeah, we're gonna train. Come tomorrow.
Come tomorrow. What you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
What time we going tomorrow?
I don't know. I got to text everybody.
We'll go in the morning then. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go in the morning.
Morning's cool?
Yeah,
What's on the morning?
probably 10. I don't know. I'll
You don't
text
want to wake up, bro?
I'll get
Come
your
on,
number.
bro.
I'll text you. Yeah.
We'll exchange.
Oh, she wants 8 a.m.
For this podcast, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys. Dave Bartek, ATHLETek, Chico Rolando. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Boom. Cue the music.